things that our Vermont Hills Church has been processing, and one of that as Dreamcast is the term decoloniality. What are we doing today where we are actively seeking to repair, not only acknowledge the uncomfortable truths that we have from our origins, but also what are we doing today? What are we losing sight of? So Minda is here to share her own work, her own internal, I would say, discernment. And I would say it was very courageous and very brave of Minda to write this up and to share. So we will listen. Let's see, let's see if you, yep.
Testing. Thank you, Anna. So I may be trembly as I speak. I have a condition called essential tremor, and it's worse when I'm nervous, which I am. So not to worry, I'm fine, just jittery. So I kind of grew up in church, not because I went to church with my family, except as a little kid. I had a born-again conversion when I was 16, and this very rich, love-filled experience gave me a sense of belonging that was missing in my family. Because of these joyful connections, I studied philosophy and religion as a pre-seminary student in college. But college complicated my understanding of my faith, and at age 26, I walked away from Christianity. Even so, my connection to what I think of as sacred source has been really important to me for my whole life. I searched far and wide outside of Christianity to find a God that I admired and trusted more than the God I learned about in my biblical studies courses at the Nazarene College. And now I'm back. But I'm here sharing with you today because Anna asked me to talk about my privilege. It is both wide and deep. This is the painful part of my talk today. My dad's last name was White. This captures so much. My life growing up looked really good on the outside, but it was pretty chilly in my family. So here's my privilege poem. My Portland roots go deep. My parents grew up here. Both my grandfathers had college degrees and successful careers. The names of 2 streets in North Portland commemorate my grandfathers. They were white, like me, and expected good lives. They struggled during the Great Depression, but came out okay. When he came home from the war, my dad used the GI Bill to finish college and buy a house in New York. Black veterans were denied this support, despite fighting for our country in the same war. Generational wealth was put out of reach for them. Dad taught me to take care of my money from when I was little, teaching me how to add columns of numbers using the can-cranked calculator in his office in the basement. During sermons at church, Dad added up his sales numbers on a 3x5 card he kept in his pocket. The last thing he said to me before he died was, "Do you have investments?" "Yes, I do, Dad, because you taught me to pay attention to my money. Having money was important in my family to look good." My home is paid off. We lived in a big house on top of a hill on 2 acres of land with a built-in swimming pool. Dad took us on wonderful vacations each year and paid for membership in a fancy country club so he could go golfing on weekends. Dad paid for bachelor's degrees for 3 kids. I started work as an adult with 0 college debt. I even paid my grad school loans off after 5 years. Dad threw in $500, which helped. When Reagan was elected in 1980, I was already established in Portland. It gives me the creeps to talk about this stuff. Why, you may ask? Pastor Anna brought some information to church a couple of years ago about some anti-racism classes being offered by the UU Church downtown. I started attending online, and what I have learned there has angered me and shamed me. I feel angry that despite my good education, there was so much I didn't know. I feel ashamed that I've been oblivious to all the harm and suffering and loss that Western colonizers have caused for people who don't look like me. I think we live in dual worlds that are often not apparent to us. I was born, grew up, and began my adult life in a prosperous and privileged age for white people in this country. Growing up in upstate New York, I lived in a middle-class suburb with good schools, which means for white kids. I remember a black girl showing up at my school. She was cute and full of life, and I wanted to be friends with her. She was the only black child in my school. I wish I knew her story. In my school in Pittsford, there was us and the Spicks, who were Puerto Rican. We shunned the Spicks. If you remember, if you're old enough to remember West Side Story, it's the same thing that happened there. It was set in the same time period, in the same state. I didn't question this. My dad's job as a Jansen salesman made it possible for him to support the 5 of us in his family as the only income earner. I never saw a black salesman at the Jansen Sales Convention when we came to Portland for them in the summers. Such affluence is quite rare for young people now, especially on just one income. Talking about my privilege bores and embarrasses me because my life experience was so unfair. I didn't do a single thing to deserve these advantages. I just enjoyed them largely without awareness and felt proud of my success. There is a world of privilege where I live, and there is another world where the kinds of people that Jesus probably interacted with the most live their lives. So let's talk about these others. The Homestead Act offered white immigrants ownership of land in the West that indigenous people had been stewarding for thousands of years. The lie we were taught was that the land on this continent was empty. Settlers were told to empty the land. The state paid them to kill native As recently as the 1970s, Indigenous women endured forced sterilizations. Oregon was the only state that managed to enter the Union with a black exclusion law. Now, I didn't personally enslave anyone or punish Indian children who had been stolen from their families for speaking their native language. I didn't take their land, except I live on land that was stolen from Indigenous people who lived here for multiple millennia before white people came and colonized. This hurts me. I believe that now I know this, a response is demanded of me. I'm not looking to guilt trip myself or anyone. Guilt can be paralyzing. Instead, I want to hold myself accountable for my ancestors' choices by taking action. If it wasn't my actual ancestors who did these extremely cruel things, they certainly benefited from them, as have I. Here's what my faith now means to me. My faith isn't believing that some humans will be saved after we die from the consequences of our perversity. My faith is more an attempt to be faithful to Jesus' teachings and to God's love for all of humanity. Many of us have believed that trusting God will help things turn out all right for us. This is not what Jesus demonstrated by his life. His life was ended by violence when he was still a young man because he defied the people in power. In our world, we would not call this a successful life. What he taught when he was alive is that it is our job to take care of each other, which of course includes caring for the biosphere that all humans and all life forms depend on. Jesus demonstrated sacrifice as something important, even life-giving. Just as living things sacrifice their lives as food so that life can continue, I think our job is to love and take care of others with our lives, offering our lives in service. Jesus taught his followers to take care of those on the margins. He talked about and demonstrated tremendous sacrifice on behalf of love. I believe that this is what our faith is about and calls us to do. These are ideals that I think Methodism was founded on. Jesus himself always went where the pain was. Wherever there was a human suffering, Jesus was concerned about it now and with healing it now. I seek a faith that isn't an evacuation plan or an escape into private bliss, but one that can express itself somehow in change and transformation in a world on fire. Justice is what love looks like in darkness. My privilege and the history of colonization in this country presents moral injury to me. I'm here today to share with you some plans I've made to address this ache and this wound in a small way. I feel compelled to repair some of the shameful, cruel actions that were taken or allowed and ignored by my ancestors. Beyond making a lame land acknowledgement, I long in some way to begin to restore to our siblings some of what my people have stolen. My ancestors attempted to erase these others who were children of God, taking the inheritance that also belongs to them. Who else is it going to be? Who else can make reparations? This is something my privilege makes possible, and to me demands that I do. I started praying for guidance on how to make preparations using the assets in my estate that will be left when I die. So, let me tell you about an organization that I learned about in one of the UU anti-racism classes that I attended. For thousands of years, the Lishan people have lived on the land that is now known as the East Bay next to San Francisco. Most Lishan families that survived the attempted genocide did so by isolating themselves and concealing their identities. Their cultural and spiritual traditions were forced into dormancy or secrecy, and much knowledge perished with the passing of generations. The Segurate Land Trust, the first urban indigenous woman-led land trust in the country, is working to rematriate the land in Lishan territory. Around 2010, the mayor of Oakland reached out to a member of the Lishan people with the intent to return some land to them. 5 years of effort in partnership with the city of Oakland resulted in the reclaiming of Sequoia Point, a 4-acre piece of land in West Oakland on the top of a bluff with a view of the entire city and the bay. This is just one of 9 pieces of land that they have rematriated so far. Finding a way to make reparations has been the focus of my prayers for guidance for many months. This is so important to me. I am thrilled and so grateful to finally have been given an idea that my heart says yes to. My plan is to put the land my house is on into Proud Ground Land Trust here in Portland, which will make the house more affordable for the next purchase because they'll only be buying the building, not the land. And it will help ease our housing shortage here by making buying a house less expensive. For our indigenous siblings, land is not property, but a relative to be cared for by all and for all. And in addition to making annual gifts to them, the proceeds from the sale of my house and the assets in my estate will go to Segurate Land Trust as reparations when I die. It's something. I'm thrilled and so grateful to have this plan. Thank you for allowing me to share this with you. I hope we will all consider looking for ways to use the privilege we have to make reparations. Now I'd like to close. I wear a feather hearing. This is a lame, bland acknowledgement, because it is. It's lame, but I wear the feather. This is an Indigenous prayer, and I would love it if we would all stand and read it together.
There are a few extra copies on the table, if you can share.
So I'll say the first two words because they're hard to pronounce. Mitakuye oyasin. All my relations, I honor you in this circus of life with me today. I am grateful for this opportunity to acknowledge you in this prayer. To the Creator for the ultimate gift of life, I thank you. To the mineral nation that has built and maintained my bones and all foundations of life experience, I thank you. To the plant nation that sustains my organs and gives me healing herbs for sickness, I thank you. To the animal nation that feeds me from your own flesh and offers your loyal companionship in this walk of life, I thank you. To the human nation that shares my path, a soul upon the sacred wheel of earthly life, I thank you. To the spirit nation that guides me invisibly through the ups and downs of life and for carrying the torch of light through the ages, I thank you. To the four winds of change and growth, I thank you. You are all my relations, my relatives, without whom I would not live. We are in a circle of life together, coexisting, codependent, co-creating our destiny. One not more important than the other. One nation evolving from the other, and yet each dependent upon the one above and the one below. All of us are part of the great mystery. Thank you for this life. And at the bottom is the website for the Socorro-Tay Land Trust.
Thank you, Minda.
Do you want your thing back?
Yes, I want my Britney Spears mic back.